Speaker Kevin McCarthy has booted 2 Democrats off of the House Intelligence Committee, and that might just be the beginning. Now, of course, if you've been following American politics, you know that he did this as like a stop to Fox News, to the Republican base. They want to see strike back because the Democrats had the temerity to throw Paul Gosar and Marjorie Greene off of their committees for encouraging violence against their colleagues, literally calling for the assassination of Nancy Pelosi, AOC, Joe Biden, a number of different people. In comparison to that, Swalwell and Schiff existed. They were, and thus they needed to be punished. Here's how Kevin McCarthy tried to provide cover for this purely partisan thing that he did. I have rejected the appointments of Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell for the House Intelligence Committee. I am committed to returning the House Intel Committee to one of genuine honesty and credibility that regains the trust of the American people. That is definitely his focus. I don't expect that you're gonna be able to read that full letter, especially on mobile. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on one of my favorite excerpts. He says, I cannot put partisan loyalty ahead of national security, and I cannot simply recognize years of service as the sole criteria for membership on this essential committee. Integrity matters more, says the guy that put Marjorie Greene on Homeland Security. No, but like, look at that. So every single person knows exactly why he did this. And I mean both the people maybe on my side of the aisle that are against the move, as well as everyone on the right wing who is cheering this. They know why he did this. They wanted him to do this, and they're very happy that he did. The idea that he did it because he cannot put partisan loyalty ahead of national security is utterly ridiculous. Nobody actually believes that. Nobody on their side cares. They got what they wanted, Francesca, and isn't that nice for them?
Yeah, and it bodes terribly for this entire country. Look, and I'm not gonna say like, that Rep Swalwell and Adam Schiff were like, my heroes, but they did lead the country through impeachment hearings, right? Love them or hate them, believe they were necessary is what I did. I don't know why I'm speaking like Yoda, but I am. Look, the real thing is, yeah, let's just stick with this. The real thing is, it begins a snowball, right? And it happens in a lot of countries. In a lot of countries, the United States has turned its nose at, is like, their democracy is not quite perfect, unlike ours. But it's when your entire system, your legislative branch and your judicial branch are completely flooded with partisan picks. You go through political purges when your party is not in power, and you only appoint loyalists. Again, the lesson out of the Trump administration, I'm sure from Donald Trump himself and clearly from Kevin McCarthy, is we didn't have enough loyalists. Like, it wasn't that we attempted a coup on January 6th, it's that we didn't attempt it hard enough. It's that we had to go to the third rail, which is, send a bunch of radicalized Facebook dads at the Capitol instead of doing it through our bought and sold loyalist attorneys generals who are just randos, again, probably the same Facebook dads. You know what I'm saying? So this is, again, where the country is headed, and it all paves the way for a potentially successful parliamentary coup in the future.
Yeah, and it wasn't supposed to be like this. I think that the owner donors would prefer a system that didn't have explicit violence in the streets. The way it was supposed to work was through a combination of structural factors, gerrymandering, the overrepresentation of small rural states and all of that, combined with endless fundraising for Fox News and independent right-wing media, focusing on an ever-changing menu of ridiculous culture war topics. That was supposed to be enough. They were supposed to win based on that. They were supposed to delude the rubes enough so that they would maintain power. And that in the end wasn't enough. Somehow the American people were able to see through a lot of this BS. And so instead they had to pull the coup card. And now we're all waiting to see if going back to business as was usual, the culture war, the demonizing trans people, and the trying to strip the rights away from everyone. If that works in 2024, then they'll just do that. And if it doesn't, they'll probably try again for a coup. And they've got more of a ground game for that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so obviously, with all of that being said, the bad guys thus are Schiff and Swalwell. And again, I'm not massive fans of Schiff and Swalwell. They're not my guys or anything. But let's be clear about what is going on. They got Liz Cheney'd. They got Adam Kinzingered or whatever. They're not being run out of Congress or anything, but they stuck their head up. And thus, as long as the fascists don't get back in power, then you'll probably be okay. But if they do, then you're going to be on the literal enemies list. And that's where they find themselves. Now, they have responded to this. Eric Swalwell says it's political vengeance. It's too bad because that committee has always been a bipartisan committee, and he's taking one of the most precious pieces of glassware in the congressional cabinet and smashing it, and the damage is going to be irreparable. Also pointed out, comparing what's happening here to what happened with Marjorie Greene being kicked off of her committees. If a Democrat advocated for violence against another member of Congress, I would support getting rid of them. I think this is a terrible move on his part, and once again, showing McCarthy just catering to the most extreme elements of this conference. I agree, we are always incredibly clear to the point of being Buzz Killingtons that political violence is not acceptable. I too would call for them to be taken off their committees if that was the case. We do have to be fair though. So to be clear, the issue here is that they're being taken off of the House Intelligence Committee. It is ridiculous that this is happening in comparison to what happened with Gosar and Green, which seems very necessary. But to be fair, at least, they're not being kicked off of all of their committees. They're just being kicked off of that committee. Schiff is gonna sit on the Judiciary Committee. Swalwell will join him there and also be on Homeland Security. So they are not being stripped of all of their committee assignments. They are being stripped of that committee assignment though. So I don't know, Francesca, there might be some people maybe who superficially agree with us or largely agree with us on a lot of stuff that think, oh, well then, okay, I guess this is the way things are. And so when we take control back, then we're gonna take all of their, but I don't actually want that. I'm not interested in that. I didn't see Green and Gosar being rightly punished as the establishment of now we can round them all up. It was extreme times calling for extreme measures. I don't like the normalization of people being kicked off of their committees.
No, I guess not. I mean, I guess their constituents elected them, even if they are low-key or high-key white nationalists. Sure, they deserve representation. I'm just remembering Kathy Griffin, a not elected representative, posting with a photo of a severed Trump head early in the Trump years and how, oh my God, I can't believe it, right? And can you imagine if a Democratic legislator had done that, if a Kathy Griffin were in office right now? I mean, that's effectively, if you were outraged about that, that's what they've done. They're like, okay, so Marjorie Greene can call for violence, can actually actively stalk a congressperson like she did to AOC, that Gosar can go speak at a white nationalist conference, then tweet out a video of AOC dying. And yeah, they get these committee positions. It's important to note, obviously, that Kevin McCarthy has control of the Intelligence Committee, but not all of the committees. But he's going to use that, where he can. And I agree with you, I guess in theory, John, that when our guys or the not crazies get back into power, I'd like to not do the exact same thing and do the political purges, except you kind of have to un-F the whole balance, right? I mean, this is, I think, why we're in the political situation we are in this country, which is that when Democrats come into power, they're so afraid of appearing partisan. They're so afraid of trying to, appeal to the center and be bipartisan that they don't realize just how far right we've actually gone. So in order to un-F these committees, in order to un-F the entire system, you kind of do need to go through a certain amount of purge, right? You kind of, again, it's the ways that Kyrsten Sinema gets to still defend the filibuster when she knows it has only been used to drag this country farther and farther to the right, farther and farther into the hands of people with power and money, and farther away from working people's needs. Yeah. So I'm of two minds, because we don't exist in a vacuum.
I would say I think I'm of two minds, but in that I just think of those as being very different issues. When I say I don't want to come in and ban them all from the committees, it's not me thinking oh, well, I guess we won't because I want to appeal to people. No, I just genuinely don't want to do that. I actually have no interest in that. They should get the number of seats that they're supposed to have based on their representation in Congress. and let Kevin McCarthy choose which chuckleheads he's gonna put on there or whatever. Now, if they do the sorts of things that Gosar and Green have done, if they are advocating for political violence and that sort of thing, then sure, I would ban them, and you could probably come up with other standards that I would have for that. But not simply they didn't like Biden or whatever, like that's not enough for me. Whereas with the filibuster, that to me it was designed, it has functioned as a tool to stop the government from being able to actually work at a fundamental level.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.